Hello, everybody. How are we all doing?
Hi guys.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Happy
Wednesday. They're a band, aren't they? Happy Wednesday. No, they're the Happy Mondays.
Happy Mondays, yeah. Right, so we'll jump into who's here already. Lisa Lewis, you're in the house. Did you DM JOICO Europe's Instagram for your prize? Just let us know in the chat and we'll help you out if you haven't. Karen J is in the house. Jess is downstairs in my house.
In the house.
In the house. Hey Debbie, hello. Christos, good evening. Then there was just a little bit of me saying hey. Wendy is here. Enjoy. Thanks, Wendy. My mum. Hey, mum.
Hey, mum.
And then Wendy said, yes, she did. Oh, amazing. So cool. Yeah. Looking forward to for you getting the new colourful. I've been using it for a week now, and it is so good. Smells incredible.
Yeah. My clients are loving it. They are
that
loving
block
it.
Is well weird looking. It is a weird looking block.
She's got some serious neck going on.
Yeah, she's been
Hello,
there. Deirdre Barlow.
She's got some neck going on. It's weird, isn't it? She's got sort of shoulders in the neck.
Yeah.
And very, very piercing blue eyes. She's a bit menacing, got to say.
Yes, yeah. Hey, Dad. Lisa, yes, I did. I had no reply from them. Oh, okay. Wendy has seen it, so they're probably working on it, which is great. AAVV, San Francisco Fango, loving your accents. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
With it. Yeah. Danielle, hey Danielle. So Danielle
Hi,
is
Danielle.
JOICO Europe as well in the house.
She's the boss lady.
Yep. Lisa Lewis, yes. So yeah, you will love colourful. She's scary. She's a bit scary.
She's very intense, and she's here to hypnotise you.
I just checked. I have now. Working on it. I know.
Great.
Amazing.
Love it. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. I'm a bit tired. I probably look a bit tired. I was educating in Reading for Laces, for JOICO at Laces distribution yesterday. I was colouring a wolf cut. Jill Berry, another JOICO European design team member, she was cutting it on Monday, and we had a salon group called Design Ahead. And then some of their guys come up, they cut a wolf cut, and the next day I coloured with them. Yeah, really good. But the rain. Did you get rain in Brighton?
We did. It was torrential. We had mini floods, and it was pretty serious.
Yeah, I was driving back in that, and it was barely see. So it took ages to get home.
Yeah. You got to drive slow, mate. And you had petrol, which was.
Well, this was the thing. When I was driving there, it took me 4.5 hours to get to Reading.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you come up to like a services junction, the road was at a standstill. People trying to get out of the way, and then when you're on a country road, it was just standstill because people was jitting out of a forecourt. So
yeah. Mate, what a drama! So for anybody that doesn't live in the UK, we are, for some reason, the whole country's gone bananas over petrol.
Yeah,
and it's just a disaster.
It's the new toilet roll.
Yes, it's the new toilet roll. So when we had COVID, we couldn't get any toilet roll either. So that is definitely something to think about in this country. I don't know why we've gone into this mad, loo roll disaster. But anyway, it is what it is. We're British. We like queuing.
We do. Yeah, we love a queue. Absolutely, and we love to get in a queue and complain about the queue.
Yes, absolutely, totally. 100%.
You're all good, mate, yeah?
Yes, mate, thank you very much. Yeah, I've been in the salon this week, only today. And I've been knocking out tutorials for my academy, or my new academy that I'm launching before Christmas.
Yeah,
so
mate,
I've been beavering away. So that's been good. But no, mate, it's just nice casual week, enjoying it. In fact, this is one that I cut last night from the Academy collection that I've been making. So
nice.
I thought it inspired me while I was doing it. And I was thinking, I'll colour this for a YouTube video. I get lots of requests, as we were talking just off air a minute ago. Yeah. And hi, Lewis from NYC.
New York City.
And I get a lot of requests for balayaging short hair. So I thought no better a haircut than a very geometric bob, or just short hair in general, and talk about the whys and the wherefores of colouring short hair and what to do and what not to do, and the things that you need to think about when you are balayaging short hair. So yeah, that's where we're at with today's inspiration, if you will. And I thought, you know, I don't always get to fulfill these requested videos that people ask for, as I'm sure you don't either. So I thought this was a good opportunity to do just that.
Cool.
So yeah, it's going to be really simple, you know. And what we won't do is we won't jump back on Friday. I don't have a here's one I did earlier because I don't have two extreme geometric bobs to do one that I had earlier. But what we'll do is I'll take some pictures for you guys and I'll send them to Paul. He can share them on his community. I'll share them on my community. I might even do a little Instagram story video or something to send to Paul, and he can share it for you so you guys can see the finished result. So I think that might be a nice way of kind of having that interactiveness, you know, of seeing the live result without necessarily coming back to us, without necessarily having to color something twice either. So we'll work out
YouTube stories as well.
Share it on YouTube stories, and might even do a short style video so that you guys can see it, and Paul can share it on his channel. I'll share it on mine, so it doesn't matter which channel you're on, you'll be able to see the end result. So tonight, with the product I'm using, I'm a big fan of cream bleachers. I don't know about you guys, for balayages, and the consistency of these cream bleachers is fantastic for balayaging. Very, very heavy product. You know, look, it's really, it did fall eventually, but you know, it's really difficult to get off the brush. And I think that's fantastic for creating, you know, really, really strong lines in the hair. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to create lines of color when we're using it. So I'm using the Blonde Life. Oh, let me drop that then. Got very, very dropsy now. I can't see it for the light. There we go. Turn it that way. Using the Blonde Life 9 levels plus lifting cream.
Beautiful.
With very nice. With the old Lumashine 20 volume, with the old arginine complex for better quality of hair once we've lifted it. So going to really enjoy applying this because I love, love, love this style of product. Now, obviously, when we work with balayages, traditionally, a lot of the time we'd have worked with some kind of pre-section. And I just want to show you how I organize my bowl as well, actually. Can you see there's an area in the bottom of my bowl with very little product in it? That area is key for me to be able to load up a very small amount of product on the teeth of my brush. You know, I mean, I know you get these colorists out there that, you know, don't get any color up here around you. I mean, it's, you know, we're doing a creative job. It's sometimes unrealistic, but what I do want to do is make sure that the area of the brush I'm going to use is really, really clean. And then I always wipe it on the edge like that. So I have this area to load up my brush, and then when I'm ready to go, I just load up. So that's really kind of how I arrange my bowl.
Good little tip.
Just so that you can, you know, be a little bit more mindful of how you practice these things. So what we're going to do is we're not going to pre-section this in any way. For unscalp bleaching as well. Yes, it does say that actually, and that did catch me off guard a little bit because I'm not used to that. It does say on and off scalp, and I was like, oh, on scalp cream lighteners with 9 levels of lift, amazing. I haven't actually used it in that particular instance yet, but I definitely will. I do a lot of scalp bleaches, and I love scalp bleaching, so I'll definitely be using that next time I'm doing scalp bleach. Now, with all balayages, what we really need to focus on is one big thing. One big thing when we look about where we're going to place our color. And when we place our color, it's all about something that I've mentioned a million times before in my videos. I don't know if you will know exactly what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about and how my hand is moving, and that gives you a tip, just put it in the comment section. I'm going to keep talking, and I'm actually going to say what it is. But it's something that's really important when it comes to balayage. So with this particular technique, what we're going to do is we're going to focus first of all on creating these nice ribbons of lightness coming through all the way down to the end, because this is one length bob effectively. The top layer meets the perimeter. So my focus now is deciding exactly where I want my point of light to be. Now, the reason I'm working top down, and before I get carried away with actually painting this technique, is that say a piece of hair that's that length, you could balayage that by all means, but it's not a long piece of hair, you know, and it can get very fiddly to start balayaging short pieces of hair like that. So for instance, in the back of the head here, what I would recommend is that anything below the occipital bone, if they've got a bob shape, don't balayage it. It's so fiddly. You know, this is to create texture now, guys. We're not looking to change the color of our hair here. We're just simply looking to change the textural color within the hair. So it's a bit like when I talk about highlights. So I talk about highlights saying, okay, what's the definition of the word highlight? Well, it's to a sense, it's to highlight, it's to point out some structure, or if you give someone a book and said highlight the word and give them a green highlighter, they wouldn't indiscriminately fill in every single line and then say, there you go, I've definitely covered all the ands, but I've colored in all the other words too. So you figure out where the ands are, you know. And for me, we can be a bit like that with highlights. Certainly in my experience, bygone era of highlights, is that, you know, what we tend to end up doing,
hey Tony,
is hello Tony, is just picking up, you know, bits of hair, whacking in hundreds of folds and doing basically a complete color change through the virtue of foils. And also you've got to think about balayage as a technique. It lives obviously mostly where the hair is going to fall. So in reality, saying to ourselves, well, doing loads of color underneath, what is the likelihood that the underneath of this bob is ever going to get a balayaged effect in reality? So I think that is something to bear in mind when we think about these things over time. I'm just going to tilt her head slightly towards you just for the purposes of seeing the top of her head. Now, the other thing as well I would say is that you don't have to get too excited about using a pintail comb with this particular technique. All we want to do is pick up a little triangle / U-shaped section of hair at the top here, and take your section, hold it out, and just make sure that it's going to fall in a nice place. And I'm just going to do one point of light. Now, I know, like when you see a lot of balayage techniques, there's a ribbon one side, there's a ribbon the other, but a technique that I use a lot and I don't see a lot of on the internet specifically, and when I teach classes on balayage, I was teaching last week in a salon, when we talked about doing one point of light, they were so like, oh right, 1 point of light, okay, cool, right, never thought of doing just 1 point of light before. So, and I think that's nice because realistically, obviously, we're just creating a very, very natural highlighting effect. Now, the other thing I will say is that I'm not going to paint the underneath of my section. All I'm going to simply do is take, when I get to the end, so I'm going to lay it on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to saturate through to the ends, but not all the way through. So when we look at the, it's going to be hard to do, isn't it? It's like a snake. Just hold the end. There we go. So we can see underneath here, we haven't saturated all the way through. And for me, that's really, really important on this particular technique, is to not go through those ends, because we're just creating a shimmer, a texture, if you will, in the hair.
See, it looks so, well, yeah, creamy, mate. It looks so.
I love using creams for bleaching with, balayaging with. Love it. So we're just going to come in, and we're going to come in next to the section we've just taken, and we're just going to scoop up a piece of hair. And this is a really visual technique. We're also going to do the fringe, by the way.
Nice.
Which is something that a lot of people avoid or, you know, don't talk about very much. And I thought it was a good opportunity to talk about this as well. So again, we're just going to load up with a very, very small piece of color. We'll work from lower up to higher in this particular instance. So we're going to come down lower here, and then we're going to work our way back up towards the root area. We can use the tip of our brush to just make sure that we get a nice little blend going on, and just lay the product on the hair. And I think there's some really hot tips I'm going to go through in a minute. So make sure you hang around for those to get that really nice application down. And I think there's some really important factors to getting a great application when we're doing these balayage techniques. And it is an application heavy technique, you know, application is king in this particular instance. And there's our next section. So we're going to have a couple of points of light in the front there, really nice. They're not going to be, and when it looks really strong, looks really bold, but the reality of this technique is that it's far from strong and it's far from bold, because all we're doing is we're covering a very, very small percentage of the surface of the hair. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come down the head, and we're going to come next to our previous section, and we're going to pick up a piece of hair again. And it doesn't, you know, we don't have to get too fussy, too complicated, too anything with these particular techniques. You know, this is where balayage goes, you know, absolutely back to its roots.
We've got a question, mate. Amy Turner.
Stuff. Good
Is
stuff.
there any particular bleach you prefer when doing a balayage?
Well, I just really like cream bleaches these days. I tend to lean towards using cream consistency bleaches, just because I really like the way that they go on.
Yeah.
Whilst we're on that subject, actually, and we'll talk a little bit about cream bleaches. Cream bleaches are not clay bleaches like balayage bleaches. I tend not to use balayage bleaches specifically. I tend not to specifically get those types of products because I want the maximum amount of lift out of it. Now, for me, if I'm going to do an air processing technique like this, I'm probably only going to get 3 to 4 levels of lift. Maybe I'll get, with a 9-level lift like this, 5 levels of lift if I'm really lucky, and it's a warm day and the wind's blowing in the right direction. But I only ever think to myself in my head that I'm going to get, you know, 3 to 4, and then I'm not disappointed with the amount of lift I've got out of the product. So for me, it's really important, guys. This is the big one, is how much color can we get? So what I'm going to do just before I talk about that, and this is really, the next part's really important, so please prick your ears up. We're going to come in behind the section we've just taken, and what we're going to make sure is that it's far enough away. So if we look where this piece of hair comes from, it's at least 2.5, 3 inches away from the previous section. We're going to come in, tap on our product, and we're just going to paint a little point of light right there. I'm getting proper Bob Ross on it tonight. You know, if you're a Bob Ross fan, I'm going really Bob Ross tonight. So the real secret to any balayage is not the liner itself, it's the application. And there's one big secret to any balayage application. It is to make it look like the piece of hair that you want to lighten has been iced.
Yeah.
You cannot see any hair underneath the saturation of that product. Okay, so it's really important, and you can see how much product is on these few pieces of hair that I've got on this mannequin head already, and how much product has built up onto those pieces. That just ensures that I'm going to get the ultimate lift from my product. And
talking about lift, we've got 2 questions. So Sinead has given us a question. Do you use 6%?
I use up to 30. I use up to 40 if I'm going to air process. If I'm really looking for the maximum amount of lift and the hair conditions is willing or able, then I will use 40 volume, no dramas. In this particular instance, I've used 20. I'm not looking for tons of lift. It's a mannequin head. I'm not even with 40. I'm not thinking that it's going to lift all that well. But, you know, I will use 40 volume. I'm quite happy to use 40 volume with an air processing technique because, you know, the thing about the product is as it dries out, it loses its efficiency anyway. And a balayage is, by nature, or should be, a reasonably fast technique to paint. So it's not going to be on the hair all that long. And remember, I'm looking for maximum 4 levels of lift with this technique. I'm not thinking 6, 7 levels of lift. If I'm thinking 6 or 7 levels of lift, I am getting out the foil, and I'm going to do a foiling technique. I'm going to do a foliage. I'm going to do a teasing. I'm going to do an air touch. I'm going to do a technique that I'm going to incubate in foil, and I'm going to get that really clean 6, 7 levels of lift. Bob's your uncle, and away you go. So, think about it like that. If you've got a friend who can get 7 or 8 levels of lift out of her balayage, good for her. But if you're struggling with that, don't beat yourself half to death over it. Just say to yourself, actually, you know what, at the end of the day, that's her and this is me. I'm not making it work for me. So then, call it a day at that. I'm gonna grab a little hand towel, 1 second.
You have got a product there as well, mate, which if it's next to you, I know we were talking about it just before we came on, Defy Damage Spray.
I have got the Defy Damage Spray. Yeah, it's right here.
So just talking about 40 volt and 30 volt, 20 volt and 10 volt and 5 volt if we go that low. Yeah, any volt. So Defy Damage is basically define damage. It will stop the hair from becoming damaged. It will shift the pH so we get a bit more lift. If you like, you can Google Defy Damage picture from JOICO and you'll see with and without. And it does boost the lift as well and protects it. So if we're going to go in and we want that high level of lift where we're using 40 volt, we can use Defy Damage to protect through every color service, to be honest. And then you were talking about if you wanted to get the lift, you would be getting the foils out. And Christos has asked the question saying, is it better to use foils on this technique?
Not with this technique. No, definitely not. I have got an alternative if you want to cover it at the end. I've got it out already because I knew this question would come up.
Yeah.
When I say, guys, you really do only want this to be 3 or 4 levels of lift. If you want more, then please think about using something like this. This is plastic film that you can cut to length, and then you can lay over the hair to stop the air getting to it. You can't incubate it, stop it drying out. You can't incubate it. Even foil, you can't incubate anything because once you are 1 centimeter off the scalp, all you've got is the air temperature. You haven't got any body temperature creating any more lift. So do think about it like that. It's really, really important to think about, what these techniques are for and who they're for, and what you're trying to create. And for me, it's about saying to ourselves, separating the techniques. A lot of people leave me comments saying, oh, I really struggle with balayage. It really, find it really difficult to balayage, and I think it's about expectation of the technique itself.
Yeah,
what people are expecting balayage to be. Balayage is not a super light surface. I mean, I had a comment the other day. I can't remember exactly how it was, but the client, it was about a video that I posted a couple of weeks ago where I did a sort of freehand technique, backhanding technique, and someone had said something along the lines of, you should really point out that this technique is only for light hair bases. It's not only for light hair bases. No. It's for any base that you want 3, maximum 4 levels of lift. You could do it on a level 1, but you're going to get an orange copper result. You know what I mean? Or a ready orange copper result. You're not going to get blonde.
No, this is where balayage has really took a turn for the expectations being so hard on high on a stylist now that people think balayage are going to be platinum, and you have that smoky root. And the original balayage,
that's not a balayage technique. That's not even close. That's some, foliage. I mean, you see these, big Instagrammers or whatever, they're using really, really heavy highlighting techniques, and then going and doing all the work afterwards with a root shadow.
Yeah. So lift, and then let's sort it.
Yep.
Let's get a white canvas, and
Yep.
then we'll do the work afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Guy Tang's been doing that for years.
Yeah.
He lifts the hair to oblivion, and you know, and no one get the wrong idea here. You will never catch me hating on any of them. I will only ever point out things that are blatantly obvious. If you love Guy Tang, great. I love Guy Tang. I think he's a bloody hero.
Yeah.
You know, I like them all. I like Brad Mondo. I know that like lots of hairdressers hate on him, but I think Brad's got a really strong place in the industry to point out where it can really go pear-shaped quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and I know he does it through light-hearted edutainment. Good for him. He's smashing it. He is telling millions of people what's happening. You know, flying. The kid's flying. You know what I mean? Like 10 out of 10 for him. You know, so I'm down with all of them.
So Tony has just said, when I was using bleach the other week, it went really hot on my Sally head, but didn't damage it. I don't remember it being that hot in college.
Yeah, so that will be some form of chemical reaction. It'll be something that's got onto the Sally head. Another dye chemical, maybe. Usually, there's a few things that can cause that. Usually, it can be cleaning product. If you're getting it on a client, they can have a bathroom cleaner in their hair. That's quite a common one. But you know, it could have been another chemical that you've coloured the hair with. Maybe like if you put a bright red on it or something like that, that maybe had some henna or hemp. No, sorry, not hemp. Henna or some kind of lifting agent that's using metallic salts. That can really, you know, cause the colour to overreact or
let us know, Tony. Let us know what was on it previous to the bleach, and then we can give you a more definite answer. But Karen J,
we can give you a deeper autopsy.
Yeah, we can break it right down for you. Would you use different strengths of peroxide to produce more texture on one head? Great question.
Totally, they're all great questions. Absolutely. These are all good questions. Yeah. Keep them coming in, guys, as I'm a question addict, you know, and I think questions are where the learning is at for a lot of people, you know, and there'll be people at home wanting to ask questions, but may not want to get involved or whatever. So definitely get involved. Put those questions forward for those people who haven't necessarily been brave enough to. So for me, yes, that is definitely a thing. I actually do a lot of techniques with tint. So where we use two different tint formulations, one with a stronger peroxide, one with a weaker peroxide. And then I'll create texture and movement that way. Also with bleachers, so yes, using a 10 volume. One tip I would give you is make sure that you're at least 2 peroxide strengths away from the other, so to create that disparity between the two. So if you're too close together, you definitely will find yourself in a position where it all looks the same. But if you just get that 2 levels of separation, you will get a visible technique of texture. So yeah, 100%.
Cool.
100%. Great question, by the way, for everybody. Great questions.
Yeah, I'll jump to the question in a minute, into the other questions, but Tony has just replied and said, thank you, James. There was a red on it before. It was a vegan colour.
There we go. So there's probably some henna dye in a vegan colour.
And metallic salts.
Metallic salts, or just generally, you need something to replace the chemicals in a vegan dye product. So yeah, that would pretty much explain it.
And then we've got Wendy saying great explanation, Sinead saying great explanation. Amanda has just said, do you always work by eye, or do you have a preferred placement pattern?
Good question. So I originally will always teach the classics, but I think like everything, and a great analogy of one of our good friends is, once you can cook a an omelette, then you can cook a Michelin star. Yeah, souffle. Listen to me, I'm getting on posh. You can cook an omelette, then you can cook a Michelin star omelette. And I think that analogy is, an interesting one. Not saying that this is, but once you understand the principles of balayage using the classic techniques, then you can start being creative and free. So for me, this is about learning and understanding the principles, points of light, and where they need to fall and where they need to sit, and then using those principles that I've learned to then be free and not so rigid with my technique, and do something that's a little bit more creative. So yes, from a teaching perspective and from a classic technique, one that I want to repeat over and over again, I do teach a very, very, very traditional technique, one that was taught to me by somebody who went to a salon in Paris, France, who've got records dating back 150 years or 130 years of them doing balayage techniques in this salon. They proclaim to be the first one in the world, and I don't think there's many people that can argue with them with such records as they've got. So there is a technique that I do teach. I've just done it on my academy lives last week, where we just take small triangles of hair. And in fact, I taught it in the salon I went to recently, how to do it and using the same technique, but how to do reverse balayage with the same technique. So yes, there is structure and understanding, but once I've got that structure and understanding, I can't help myself but break the mold, And I think that's probably Paul will, probably follow on from this, but for me, fundamentals are key. Once we've got our fundamentals in place, then that's the joy of being a creative individual, is that, we can jump in there with, our own adaptation. And what we need to be really mindful of, and I always think this when we're talking about own adaptations, is that we don't start to preach our own adaptation as the gospel, because the internet is awash with people, who have used their own creative, noddle, if you will, to create something that is a spin-off of something that they've learned already and try and coin it for themselves. That winds me up like nothing on earth, because we can't really claim any of these techniques. They are all evolutions of many people getting hold of them and using them time and time again. How about you, Paul? Where do you stand on that?
Man, yeah, exactly the same. Exactly the same. I mean, it is a case of where we learn, and what we do. If some of you guys don't know, myself and James work with Lee Stafford on NVQ. So we train like the grassroots of the hairdressing industry, and we also are JOICO artists. So we do also private sector and all of that side of the industry. But I think where we get to see the real early starters in the industry, they all want to be as creative as possible. They want to be cutting as soon as possible, coloring as soon as possible, and they don't really know how to. And I think until they've got a really sound grounding of foundational knowledge within our craft, then I think they can go ahead and then break all the rules, as James was just saying, breaking the mold. But you really have to have a good sound understanding of what you can break and what you can't break, because there are things that you don't really want to break.
Yeah, they're principally there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's really something to remember, isn't it? Like a principle and a rule are two different things,
Yeah.
And I think, I think when we look at principles set standards that are really important, for our industry. Rules are, do this and it will go like this, and I think we do need to be careful about. I think that I don't know about you, but and I don't get it as much as I used to, but I definitely still get it. Lots of people when I come to me and ask me about doing education for their salon, especially cutting education, always say, oh, they want a creative cutting class.
Yeah.
And my answer to that is, well, what's creative to you? And
yeah,
do you want to be able to say again?
All subjective.
It's all subjective. And I also say, do you ever want to be able to use the technique again on the shop floor?
Yeah.
Because I can show you something creative, but no one's ever going to wear it.
No.
You know?
And that's the thing
So I
about the
think,
cutting courses that many of us have been on. You go on it and it's all sort of jazz hands and back using your scissors upside down. But then when would you use that in the salon environment? And that's something that the creative cutting courses that I went on, I just thought, oh, I love it. I love the result. I love their adaptation of something or their creativeness to show something a bit different. But I'm never going to use it.
yeah, that's right. And I think for me, like spending many, many years attending adult education specifically as a hairdresser, and then coming away really buzzed by what I'd experienced, and then thinking to myself, trying to remember that technique, that client with that perfect hair to do that on never actually arrives. It becomes really disheartening. And so that I think as an educator, yeah, absolutely, and you never get to use it. So as an educator, I always have that at the very, very front of my mind. I say to myself, right, who's going to use it and how are they going to use it? And if I can't answer either of those things, I never do it. I don't want to put my name to something that is just for sheer exhibitionism. I don't think there's much value in exhibitionist hair. There is value in it, but it's only a perceived value. It's a bit like a piece of artwork. We can all go to the Tate and appreciate Van Gogh's beautiful work, but at the end of the day, when you walk away, you can't copy Van Gogh because he's Van Gogh.
Yeah.
And I think we can stand there and look at it in awe and go, wow, Van Gogh was an amazing painter. But we can't say to ourselves, and now we'll go home and prop up our canvas.
Your audio's gone, mate. There with your microphone. Audio's gone. While we're waiting for James to get his audio back, we'll bring up Amy's question. So could you use this technique with an all over color to give an extra dimension, or would you only use it on dry hair? So are you talking about you'll do like a full head color and then at the basin maybe do like a basin balayage, if that's what you mean, Amy? Throw it back in the
I think what she means is can you hear me again? Yeah,
can hear you. Yep.
Yeah. I think what she's saying is, can you use it over the top of an all over color? So put an all over color on and then apply it over the top. I don't know. Not many manufacturers recommend applying bleach over tint. Now, not to say that I never have.
Yeah,
Paul can probably vouch for that too. It does go a bit of a strange color. It does go quite ready, and it can be a bit scary for the client. But from a best practice standpoint, Amy, the best thing would be to do is, if you're going to change the global color, do your global color application, wash it off, dry it, do this over the freshly colored hair.
Yeah,
because I know that would save a lot of time applying it over the top of the tint, but I think you could end up with some unexpected color results.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Be mindful. Yeah. Be mindful of those unexpected color results.
Yeah,
sorry about that. My AirPods died, so I took them out, and then for some reason my phone spazzed out as I did it.
That's all right.
Okay. But yes.
Touching on that with Amy though, you could, what I've done in the past, if you were looking at doing something like that, is you could do your global color, and then where you're looking at where you could place the lighter pieces, you could just leave those out as the virgin hair or the hair is dry, and then you could go back in. You could do this technique that James is using. That's something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. The other thing you can do, Amy, is actually do this onto damp hair.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be dry to answer the end of your question. It doesn't have to be bone dry, the hair. It can just be but you obviously just don't get quite as much lift out of your bleach if you're going to do it on stamp hair.
Yeah. Sinead's just said Rabbit Trails on Guru Nation is a very good podcast about the science and foundation of hair color with Dennis G.
Yeah, Dennis came on my channel, Sinead. You should go and watch it. We did a live together. It's over in my live playlists. And he's actually coming back on before Christmas. And we're going to do another one talking about a few different things that we didn't get to cover in the last one. I've also got, we haven't arranged a date yet, but what's her name? Elaine Travis, for anybody that's an Elaine Travis fan. Elaine Travis is coming on to talk all about colour and her new training boot camp. And so she's going to come on to talk about that at some stage.
Nice.
So, come and catch those lives. I think Elaine will be on in the next couple of weeks. And as I say, Dennis will be on before Christmas. And yes, he is the font of all knowledge virtually, I believe. I mean, obviously, everybody's got subjective opinions about all sorts of different things because, well, that's hairdressing for you. But I'm certainly a big fan of his. And he's helped me out a ton in my career.
Yeah, mate, when I was listening to it, when you two were doing it, there was just mind-blowing moments throughout the whole conversation.
Yeah. Dennis is just off the chart. Off the chart.
Oh, that's how Sinead discovered it. So heard him on your podcast with yes, that's how I discovered him and heard your podcast with her or with him.
Yes, Elaine Travis. Yeah, so Elaine, I did a podcast for Elaine's Color Expert podcast, and then Elaine's going to come on and talk about her new program that she's running over on, well, I think it's a global program actually. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it, to be honest. She's going to come and tell me about it. So
But just a question that we'll throw to everybody. So James is using a cream lightener, and he did ask at the beginning, does anybody use cream lighteners? And no one sort of come back and said that they do. Do you all prefer powder? And if so, why? Just to put it out there as a question, just to get a little bit of chat going.
Good stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about technique for a moment and things that I like to kind of focus on when I'm applying the products. And I think while I'm doing these last few sections, it's going to be really good to kind of finish on this because it's a powerful way of thinking about application. So a lot of people apply balayage like this, very flicky, and that's fine, I'm not knocking it at all, but some doesn't suit everybody. So another really good way of doing it is what I tend to do is I trap my elbow against my body and I balayage with my elbow tucked into my hip, and it gives me a really stable platform to work from. Okay, so I'll show you while I do this one. I'll show you as best as I can with the angle that I'm at. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my product, and again, we're just using that area on the bowl that I mentioned earlier, that small area, and you can see as I work away, look, I make a hole in that area, and then I wipe on the opposite side, and then this product runs down and into the, so it's like it's like a sort of digging machine, and then as I've got no product on that side, I just cut away a piece from this. I just cut away a piece from here, and then pick up that product, and then when I'm done, I wipe. When I've got excess, I wipe it on that side. So it's like a continuous conveyor of product. Don't know if that's a bit OCD. Hey,
infinite, mate.
Infinite amount of product. So let's go in with our piece of hair that we're going to paint. Pick up the piece of hair. So my elbow's trapped into my body, and then I'm going to use the side of the brush to apply. So I've got my elbow stuck in here. So my action is very linear, and then it makes painting these lines a whole lot easier because I'm not sort of flicking it around everywhere and getting product all over the show. I'm just using a very, very linear motion to go up and down. Now, sometimes I'll come in front and I'll paint like this, and I'll get my brush and I'll paint down towards the ends like this.
Super clean, mate.
Yeah, try, mate. You know.
That's lovely. It's like really, what's the word I'm looking for?
Therapeutic.
Yeah. I just got sucked into that then.
Yeah, that's it. Get like drawn in. ASMR for hair painting. Okay, and I'm going to put a final one in here, just in there. And then when we do this final one, really give you some tips about using the bristles on the brush, because the bristles on the brush do two things. Okay, so they're not they're a little bit more useful than you might have first thought. Okay, so the first thing that we can kind of think about is, what does the side of the brush do? And I just gave it away when I was painting this one. So if you were really listening, you already know what I'm going to say. Okay, but if you're going to apply product, you use the side of your brush. So this will lay product onto the hair. And this is the secret to that maximum saturation effect that we need to get the product. But also, if we start going a bit skew whiff and off track, right, we can angle the brush up and we can start to use the teeth of the brush to remove the product and make it spread around a little bit thinner. So if you're struggling with smoothing out the product and making it nicely blended, then start to use the teeth and then go back to building up your product using the side of the brush, just like so. So laying that product onto the hair like that.
Beautiful. We've just had a couple of questions. Well, Tony's asked, she hasn't tried a cream, and a lot of people haven't tried cream. Pia hasn't tried a cream. Sinead hasn't tried a cream. We've got Lisa, and they've just said, where can they get them from? Where we get ours from, JOICO, you can get them from in the South, Laces, Midlands area. You can get it from Alan Howard, and over in Wales, you can get it from Salon Concepts, I think it's called. So yeah, you can get the products from there.
Yeah.
And Christos has said,
I mean, it's a good, you know, my problem with balayage bleachers, and here's the thing, this is why I thought about using this tonight. My problem with balayage bleachers, it just don't lift enough. I'm always usually disappointed with them, and I'm always pimping them up with a bit of something else, you know, to make them work better. Now I know that's, you know, I prefer not to do that if I can, and so for me, using a cream lightener that lifts 9 levels, you get the consistency of a clay lightener, but you get the lift of a really powerful bleach.
Yeah.
Right then, fringe areas. Whoa, balayage and fringe areas. This is where we leave my mark.
Said, James, will you be bleaching the fringe? So you just answered that.
Just answered that. Right. So balayage and fringe. This is where it's getting serious, Christos. Okay. So remember, short hair underneath. We're not going to balayage short hair like that. We're going to look to put in maybe 4 little pieces of lightener. So what we want to do is we want to come to the top of the fringe where the hair's the longest and just pick up a little bit of hair, and only a little bit of hair. Can you see the size of that section? Okay. And it's just got a bit of hairspray in it. So I'll just comb that out. See, it's gone all bouncy now. Pick up this piece of hair. Now, this is where we're going to have to get deadly serious about our application, because we need to be really, really accurate. So we're going to come in using the side of our brush. We're going to start at the tips of our hair, and we're just going to paint in some little pieces of lightness. We want to be really, really careful at the root area here. Just use the tip of your brush to distribute the product and create a nice blend at the top of the head, and then work your way down.
Nice. Karen J's just asked, has anyone used Affinity Pre-Pig or Indola Colour Mousse as a pre-pig product? I haven't.
Used which one? Affinity. Yes, I've used all of those. I've used all of those. Yeah. I mean, what I would say is for me, pre-pigging is a little bit more precise than just throwing on yellow, orange, or red. Because if you're throwing on a red, for example, we want to be really thinking about how we're going to counteract that red after. So it's really, really important that we think about that before we get to the point at which we're pre-pigging. So for me, if we're going to pre-pig, say, and we want a natural, neutral brown end result, and my hair was blonde, if we put red on here, we're going to see red shining through it. So always go one shade lighter than the target shade. So in my instance, we'd probably be going in with 6/7, bit of both. And we'd be using a copper gold tone, because then we've made the gap. Say I was a natural level, and say I bleached my hair to a level 10. We're bridging the gap between me and my natural. We're going halfway, but we're not putting in that red tone at a level 6 that we then can't get rid of, because we'd have to go down to a level 5 or 4 darker with a green ash tone to have any chance of getting rid of it. So yeah, either one shade or 1 to 1.5 shades lighter than the target shade, with a tonal value lighter than the depth at which you are proposing to go to, is a really quick and generic way of saying it. I've talked about it in my academy classes. I've made a YouTube video about levels of pre-pig, but it's really, for me, there's a little bit more to it than just using those types of products. If you have never used them, then you may or may not know what I'm talking about. But if you have used them, anybody that has used those kind of specific pre-pigging express products, then you'll know exactly what I'm saying. They can be a little bit treacherous.
Yeah. And again, I'm just going to say with JOICO, we've got DDs, which are double dimension. They're a demi cream, and they've got pre-pig inside them. So the technology is already in there. So for all those grown out balayages or ombres, dip dyes, highlights, and if they want to go to brunette and you've only got them booked in for an hour appointment, you can use the DDs, which will pre-pig it and then put the desired result tone over the top. And then when you've rinsed it, you've got a beautifully, finished result.
Nice.
Christoph just said, could you just put the camera in a way to view the top of the head, mate? Sorry. There we go. Or move Deirdre.
I hope that is that just Christos. Can you see clearly like that, or do you want it to be lower? Just let me know, and I'll do it before I do these last 2 sections. Yeah, I mean, for me, time saving is king. I am time saving mad, because I think we can spend half a day doing someone's colour.
Christoph said much better. Thank you.
Great. We can spend half a day doing someone's colour, or we can turn them brown in an hour.
Yeah.
I know which one I'll pick. Oh,
for sure. And the Lumi 10, I don't know if I can talk about it. I'm not going to talk too much, but the new Lumi 10 that we've got coming as well is a really real time saver. And I think that's where hair companies have really noticed not so much a gap, but a need in the hairdressing sort of.
It's not a gap. It's an absolute must. Yeah. Having clients in the salon 3 or 4 hours, they don't want to be there, do they?
No.
To have their routine done.
Yeah, no, it's all very exciting in our industry at the minute. The companies out there are developing products that are there to support us as hairdressers to do our job just as well, but so much quicker. So it's really exciting.
Very. Yeah, and I just like working fast. So for me, it's like finally the companies are making products that are akin to how I like to work.
Yeah. But I put a post out on my community tab the other week, which was about the next competition. So while James is just finishing up, I'll just have a quick look at what you guys have chosen. I think it was a goodie bag that you all wanted. But if I just flick to it and see. So the giveaway, I gave you 4 options, and it was JOICO Vivid Colour Intensities, like a pack of them. hair straighteners, a goodie bag, or your suggestions. So the goodie bag is on 57%, hair straighteners on 26%, JOICO intensity is on 16%. And in the suggestion, Sinead said a week's work experience with you or James or both. Now that's a prize. And I said you can do it anytime, to be honest. If you want to come and like spend a day or whatever with us.
Well, I've said this already. Like, if you want to come and help me make a YouTube video, be my guest.
Since you mentioned straighteners, I've been curious about the heated brush type straighteners. What do you think of those? Do they work? Do they damage hair? That was just in that post. I don't think they damage hair. I think they work at a temperature that won't melt hair. Yeah, but I've never really tried one. James used the GHD Glide. I know he was a big fan of that.
I love the Glide. It was great. I made a really good video about it. We haven't spoken GHD since.
No. And we had curlers, but that was a prize, a few months ago? I don't know.
We will have curlers again, especially a tongue. I've got a tongue that I used for a review and never used again because I've got a tongue.
Yeah.
My own tongue. But it's a perfectly good tongue, so let's give that away at some stage.
Yeah. P has said a goodie bag.
I've also got a Life of Hair jacket to give away.
Oh mate, I will enter for that. I'm going to be like Lisa. I was going to put emojis and love hearts. But Lee Shaw's in the house. Hey guys, sorry to late to the party. Welcome. I mean, we've only got a couple minutes left, but thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
Karen J has said, any news on when you're at Salon International? So yeah, the Sunday and the Monday.
Sunday and Monday, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so we'll be staying over, and then we'll do a community post or the video before we go. We will say where we'll be and all that sort of thing. So, looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to Salon International. It was a thing that really died of death, but I think this one, everyone I speak to are going. So I think it's going to be crazy.
It's either going to be massive or the only people are going are the ones that we know.
Yeah. All 6 of us.
It's good stuff. I can't wait to go. Actually, I hadn't been for the one before pre-COVID, and then subsequently obviously missed. So it's been 4 years I think since I went.
Yeah. Pia said she wants a signed jacket. Sinead said she can wear the jacket in college, and Lee has said beer on Monday. Yeah, well, we want to do a little sort of get together with everybody that watches us. That's what we want to do.
We're going to find a bar, and then we'll tell you where we're going to be, and we'll just go in there and have a drink and say hello. Yeah.
And Karen J's all booked already, so really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, ditto. I can't wait. I'm just so excited to finally bump into some of you guys, say hi, and just go to a hair event. It feels like,
mate, see you face to face. It's been
so long.
I don't know how long.
Too long. Way too long. It's got. I reckon it's 4 years.
Probably.
At least that, since we were in the same room together.
It's probably that staff event, 2016.
That can't be it. No, I bumped into you at Hair Club Live.
Oh, Hair Club Live open chair night. Yeah. Oh, that's 2 years ago.
Yeah, there we go. I knew it wasn't that. It was the one at Hammersmith there.
Yeah.
That was the last time. That's 2019. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't think it was that far, but I couldn't.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but I mean, it was long enough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So here we go, guys. Our stripy balayage painting is done. So there is method to the madness here. We took one section from the top of the head, and then we came about a third of the way down that section, and then we picked up another section, and we worked through the head in that fashion all the way around. So one from the top, one from a third or roughly half, and we just went all the way through. So I'll let this process now. And then once I've washed it off and dried it and all that jazz, I'll make a little video, a short or a one that we can share on our stories of the finished result, and Paul and I will both share it, and you guys can see how this turns out. So that's that. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Paul, thank you for having me. Come to Ireland. You know what? I used to go to Ireland all the time to teach, probably 3 or 4 times a year. But obviously, in the last couple of years, I've not been over there. But I'm sure I'll get back there at some stage, and I'll definitely.
Oh, for sure. I think I'm there next year, like early. I can't be 100%, but yeah, I've got some dates sent over for JOICO, and it just looks as if could be Ireland. Could be. I don't know though.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to get back over there. I love teaching the Irish. They're so hungry, so energetic for learning. And
I've never been.
Yeah, I love the energy over there. I really do. You're welcome, guys. Thank you very much. I've seen the comments pinging up here. And ciao, Pia. And we'll see you all again next week on my channel for Paul doing a haircut of your choice. So do let him know. I will do a community post so that you guys can pick what Paul's going to do. And we'll see you all again next week.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Ciao.
And we'll see you. Yeah, we'll see you next week. And we'll share the post. When we're going to share the post? Just this week sometime?
At some point tomorrow, hopefully. I'll process this overnight because I won't wash it off tonight, and I'll dry it tomorrow, and I'll hopefully have done a post by the time 6 o'clock comes around tomorrow.
Cool, lovely.
All being well. All right.
Yeah.
Have a good one, guys. See you later.